Hello, welcome back to I think this is episode 30 of the Early Bar Football Podcast. Happy New Year to everybody who is watching this video. There's lots to crack on with today. The January transfer window is officially open. And we're also going to do our mid-season awards. And there's also lots of football news that is happening currently, and even Chris was saying pre-pod that Liverpool are postponing their games and was very, very sceptical, very cynical of Liverpool just trying to cancel games because of AFCON. So who knows? But anyway, I'm joined by Chris, Jack, and Ash today. There's only the four of us. Chris, how are you? Happy birthday! Happy early Bath birthday to you, Chris. How are you feeling?
Thank you. Yeah, it's nice to be on my birthday. Happy New Year to all the viewers. Yeah, I'm doing okay. Obviously, you guys know, but obviously for the viewers watching, I've tested positive for COVID last week. But yeah, not really a nice thing to go through. But touch wood, I'm getting there. I'm on the mend, and I'm happy to be back on the pod with the boys.
And you can see the Adana Sport shirt in the background there. If you didn't watch the previous episode, the Christmas special, then watch that because we did a secret shirt unveiling. And this is now the New Year special. We've just decided to do loads of specials. We like the Grand Tour because it gets loads of views in. Has anyone watched that latest Grand Tour, by the way? It's very good.
I haven't.
It's very good.
I'm just going to say yes because you said specials get more views. Watch it.
Good. Jack's here too. Jack, how are we? How's it going?
Good, thank you. Yep, not too bad.
He's wearing also the shirt that he got in the secret shirt.
I noticed you're not wearing yours, Tingers. You're still fuming.
I'm still fuming, yeah. I've chucked it in the bin straight away. I was absolutely fuming with it. I got severe. Not happy. I bought it again on M&M Direct for like a £5. So yeah, what can you do? And finally, Ash Barnes is here. Hello, Ash. How is it going?
Hello, wonderful. Lovely to be back with the boys. And yeah, Happy New Year and happy birthday to Chris.
Happy birthday to Chris. You said I don't know if it was a drunk message on the group chat, but 2022 is the year of the early bath. Now, was that about the pod or just your general hygiene habits?
Both. More baths really in podcast and yeah. Let's really go. Good. The year of the early bath.
The year of the early bath. Anyway, let's crack on. We're going to do. I shamelessly have stolen this from Sky Sports because realistically, they have a monopoly over the footballing news. Area, and so I feel no shame in taking their content. But we're going to do some mid-season awards because Christmas is like the halfway point in the season. I think most teams have played 19 games or so, maybe like 3 or 4 haven't because of COVID postponements, etc. But I thought do some mid-season awards because it'd be nice. Award ceremonies also get views, so you can see my thinking on everything. Specials, awards, unboxings, giveaways. We don't have enough money for giveaways yet, but maybe at some point we will. So what we're going to do is going to go through some categories, and then we're going to just have a discussion. We're just going to have an open discussion, no shouting, no. It's going to be a healthy discussion. That's what it's going to be. I can't remember the first topic. Is it player of the season? I said, lads, first.
Yes.
Let's do player of the season. Here we go. Player of the season, open bracket so far, close bracket, is our first award category. Chris, who would you like to put forward? I don't know how this is going to work. Should we everyone put a name forward and that's it, or should we all decide on one?
I think everyone put a name forward first, and then we can all sort of discuss. So I think I'm going to be Captain Obvious here. And I think I'm just going to put forward Mo Salah.
Okay, good.
Just,
why?
I'm just the sheer amount. just for yeah, he's a good player, isn't he? No, obviously he's the current Golden Boot holder in the Premier League. He's had a phenomenal season. He's scored some absolutely sensational goals. I mean, the one against Watford comes to my head straight away. Obviously, brilliant skill, and that he scored a good goal at the weekend as well against Chelsea, and he's just been Liverpool's bright spark for their title race. I know it's had a bit of a stutter in recent weeks and that, but Mo Salah's been their constant player, and I think it'll be a huge miss for them when he goes to the African Cup of Nations. But yeah, Mo Salah is my pick.
Fantastic. And we must say, pre-pod, we decided the criteria for this. We're going to anything from this season, but we've also included the Euros because the Euros need some love, but not last season. So from the Euros onwards is the criteria for this. So Jack, who is your name that you would like to put forward?
I have a feeling it's going to be quite a quick topic, so I'm also going to go for Salah. But I will say, honourable mention, Rodri, because I think he has been fantastic. Like, he's, sort of player doesn't get recognised, but, there's a reason why they're doing so well. And I think he's massively part of that City sort of heartbeat, isn't he? The way he breaks the play up, recycles the ball, and that's sort of why they're doing so well, I think. But you can't look past Salah, can you? He's it's just the goals and the in big games as well. It's just brilliant, really.
And also Rodri for his celebration against Arsenal. Did you see someone launch like a toilet roll at him? He didn't even get to the corner flag, and someone already yeeted a toilet roll at him. That's unreal.
Who brings toilet roll to the match?
No idea.
Somebody's obviously worries about the state of the toilets, the Emirates, obviously.
Yeah. So on that from the first lockdown last year, obviously we know that the culprit who was buying all the toilet roll last year.
It is.
Obviously, that guy that went to the Emirates.
The Highbury Screamer, the Emirates toilet roller. There we go. You can't look past Salah, said Jack. Ash, are you going to look past Salah?
No. I'm going to join Captain Obvious and Jack in nominating Mo Salah. I think, as the boy said, clearly he's been the best player in the Premier League. I would like to nominate João Cancelo. I know he's a fullback.
Had him down.
And, it's not very glamorous. And in terms of stats, he hasn't scored and assisted maybe as much as, a Trent Alexander-Arnold, who maybe gets more headlines at that fullback position. But I think he is probably the best in his position in the world currently. And he has been playing both left back and right back at times, but an ever-present in that City team. But yeah, I don't think you can look past Mo Salah for player of the season.
So far, player of the season so
far.
Of course. I will put forward... I did literally some jottings 5 minutes before we went live, and I said Salah, Cancelo, Bernardo Silva, Trent, because he is always kind of all right. And then also Jorginho, because he nearly won the Ballon d'Or. Remember that? When he nearly won that. So yeah, those are my things. But I think we're pretty agreed on Mo Salah there. So congrats, Mo Salah. We don't have a trophy or anything for him. So there you go, Mo.
Maybe next year we'll get a trophy.
Just for pride.
Maybe.
Just for pride. Yeah, we'll get sponsored by Whitney Trophy Centre or something. Very niche reference for people that listen to this podcast. Let's go for one which is maybe a bit more of a discussion. Young player of the season, open bracket so far, close bracket. Chris.
Tingers, do you want to explain what we do with the ages? The thing we discussed before.
Of course. So, Jack asked a really good question pre-pod, and that was, what is the age? What is the cutoff? What is the criteria for young player of the season so far? Jack, you said 23, didn't you?
I'd say 23.
23. Because that is also what the Premier League use for young player of the year, for PFA player of the year.
And I also think is it the Premier League 2? That's under 23s, isn't it?
Exactly.
The actual
we all agree that 23 is probably the cut-off. I said actually 24, but Ash, that's way too old. He thought I was having a laugh.
Way too old. 23 is fine. 24, way too old.
And as a bunch of 26-year-olds and Jack's 25, either way, it doesn't look good for us. If it was down to me, it would be 26 is young.
We'd be seasoned pros by now.
We would, yeah. We'd be up-and-coming rookies.
Yeah.
We'd be in our prime, actually, wouldn't we? We'd be decent.
I don't know. I think the footballer's prime has always been considered 28, isn't it? 28 onwards, I think.
Yeah, I guess. How old's Lingard? He's still in his prime.
I think he's 29.
Oh, there you go. Great player.
Prime Lingard.
Prime Lingard. So let's talk about young player of the season, which is anyone under the age of 23, or 23 and under, I should say. Chris, who are you going to put forward here? Which Arsenal player?
Yeah, exactly. It's a tough one. I want to put two names forward, if that's okay with you boys. Both Arsenal players, both Bukayo Saka and Emil Smith-Rowe. They've honestly been shining lights to Arsenal season. I mean, even when Arsenal was going through that horrible starts of the season, like especially like Smith Rowe, like he was, well, to be fair, both of them, they were the two like standout players from the team, and they've both carried, they've both pushed on this season. I think, but at this stage of the season, they're both in like double figures in terms of goal contributions. And I want to say Smith Rowe's Arsenal's current top goal scorer at the minute in the Premier League, and that, which is just it's a phenomenal achievement. I did say he had to add more goals to his game at the start of the season. He's done that. He's obviously taken on board my advice. That might
Your
be
advice.
Yeah, my advice. Yeah, probably a bit big-headed there, but but both of them been phenomenal players. I mean, obviously Saka was brilliant at the Euros as well. Obviously, you said that was included Euros in this. Obviously, Smith Rowe as well. He got his first call up to the England senior squad, which it was weird how he got his call up to the first senior squad, because Southgate didn't pick him in the squad originally, and there was only because of a few injuries that Southgate went, all right, we'll call Smith Rowe up, and obviously he took his chance. I mean, people say, he scored against San Marino. Anyone can do that, but he still scored a goal for his country, and that, and he's going to be a key player for both England and Arsenal, as well as Saka. They're both going to be key players for England and Arsenal in years to come, and they've both had terrific seasons. Saka scored a brilliant goal against Man City the weekend as well. Great first-time finish. So, yeah, I'd like to put those two names forward.
Fantastic. Okay. Jack, what about you? What players are you going to put forward for Young Player of the season so far?
I would say, for me, I'm probably going to go Arsenal as well, but slightly different. I'm going to go for Ramsdale.
Very good.
Now, the reason is, I think everybody is a little bit, even though I sort of defended him a little bit, at the start when they said it, a lot of people were saying 30 million is quite a big figure for a goalkeeper that's relegated two teams. But I think since he's been at Arsenal, you can sort of see the effect he's had on that whole team. And they just look, I appreciate there's other elements to it as well, like Ben White as well coming in and Gabriel being fit, but they do look a lot more solid than they have done for the last, I'll probably say, decade. I think Chris will probably agree with me. I think it's been, a team as good, certainly haven't had a back five as good as this for a long, long time. So I'd say Ramsdale's probably mine, just because the effect he's had on that team, and you see how well they're doing at the moment. I think for me, Ramsdale. But I think the two honourable mentions would be Gallagher, Conor Gallagher, Crystal Palace. Like when you're sort of in the discussion about being recalled to Chelsea to play in that team, then you're doing something right, because that midfield they've got at Chelsea is ridiculous. So, if there's discussions about him going back, he's obviously doing something right. And I think we discussed Max Killman pre-pod briefly. I just double check he is 21. I'll just make sure he wasn't like 27 or something. But he is, he just fit the criteria.
He's way too old. 27.
Yeah. But he's also done quite well in sort of, because I never really was sure what his position was a couple of years ago, because he sort of played right back, and then now he's playing as part of a back three. And I think, he's done quite well, even though Wolves are a bit of a sort of hot and cold team. I think for his age, he's certainly done very well, because they've sort of had quite a few bad injury problems there. Because I know Bolly's been out, and they've sort of had to rework the back three quite a bit. So he's done well as well, but Ramsdale's the one for me.
Okay, so that's three Arsenal players. That is three Arsenal players. I lost track of thought there. Ash, are you going to go for an Arsenal player, or are you going to go for someone else?
Not going to go for an Arsenal player. I do appreciate that all the players like Saka, Smith Rowe, Ramsdale have improved Arsenal, and Arsenal have improved. But then if you it kind of feels like still a bit same old Arsenal at the moment. Yes, they're improving, but their results, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of teams around that top four that are not necessarily performing at the top, and things are quite close around there. And I'm not sure. Maybe these young players are excellent, but they've not had that, major impact. Perhaps yet. So I'm going to go for a Chelsea player. I'm going to go, because I like to think of the Young Player of the Season award as more of a burst on the scene award. So players that we maybe don't know as much about. So I'm going to go for Trevor Chalobah. He was at Huddersfield, I think, 2 years ago. I think when they're in Championship, and he was at Lorient last season. He came back to Chelsea this year, and I don't think any of us really expected him or knew much about him, or that he was going to play in the Premier League. Yeah, I think he burst onto the scene in that game. I can't remember who it was against, but I remember him scoring He scored that goal just outside the box into the bottom corner. And since then, I think he's flourished, and he has been picked reasonably consistently by Thomas Tuchel. So I think from coming from nowhere, like we already knew Saka, Smith Rowe were going to be good players, but I think Trevor Chalobah's sort of come out of nowhere and just been this sort of mainstay in Chelsea's defence. And he's playing alongside players like Thiago Silva, Azpilicueta, and amongst the injuries that Chelsea have had recently, I think he's done well to sort of maintain his position. Shout out as well to Conor Gallagher. I was, again, someone I had down who had a lot of pressure on him going to a team in Crystal Palace that is effectively a brand new team, lots of new players. He's a young player he's put in the middle of the pitch to create, and I think he's done that really well, and he's really impressed. And obviously, like Jack said, the fact that they're considering, moving him back to Chelsea if they can, then that kind of shows what a good season he has. And also shout out to Tino Livramento, to continue on the Chelsea theme, who's been at Southampton. Been excellent for my fantasy team, so I just thought I'd give him a shout out. He's got me a lot of points, and he's been playing really well. I think, again, maybe not someone that we would have expected, and he only cost £5 million as well. That transfer,
cheap in today's money.
Good business from Southampton there. But yeah, so they're my nominations.
Very London centric. I'll quickly email just said Happy New Year, Bath Boys. So Happy New Year to Elton.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I was going to put out another Palace name. I don't know if he does fit the criteria though, but I was going to say Mark Gurhey as well. I want to say he is 22 or 23, but
he was England under-21 captain, so quite recently. So I think he should qualify.
There you go.
Yeah. I think he's another player for Crystal Palace who's had a solid season. Obviously, there was quite a few eyebrows raised at the price tag that Palace paid, considering he was on loan at Swansea last season. That obviously hadn't played in the Premier League before, but I think he's been quite solid for them at the back. Obviously, alongside Anderson.
Of course, I'll put forward Phil Foden and Mason Mount. I don't think Foden's really hit the heights of sort of last season. I think he's been good. Mason Mount, the same, to be honest. I think he started the season off quite well from what I remember, but he's gone a little bit off the boil. I also see him on every single TV advert as well. I think he's too busy doing that. And I was going to say Jarrod Bowen, but I think he's 25. I don't think he's not as young as I think he is. Would someone mind Googling that? Other search engines are available. I feel he's older than I think.
He's been around a while.
Yeah,
I think that's
25.
Rice. I think that's the same as Declan Rice, and I think he can fit in our category. I believe
Declan Rice is 22. Yeah, he's
been brilliant again for West Ham this season. Obviously, he's a solid regular, and he's a great footballer to watch. Jack's gone. He's obviously fuming at Declan Rice show. Like, nah, I'm not having that. How dare you? How dare you? As a poor show.
So it's now down to you two. Who do you think should be young player of the season? Jack is back. Let me just add him in.
Yeah,
he's back. He's actually there you go. Jack's back. Who do we think? Jack, you've not missed much. We're just deciding who is young player of the season so far. Who is the final person, the winner?
Don't know. I just thought of another candidate.
Go on.
Tanganga.
Jaffet, of course.
Solid.
Didn't he get sent off against was it Crystal Palace for trying to
him and Zaha
rugby tackle Zaha?
Yeah, but it's Zaha, so I'll allow it.
Very Brighton-centric opinion there.
No, not at all.
Yeah, but I suppose there weren't any Brighton players coming from you, Mr. Tang.
I think Tarek Lamptey's probably the one I would choose, but he hasn't played enough this season. That's pretty much it. He'll probably win the Ballon d'Or by the end of the year, so that's fine. So who should we pick? We need to decide on a name, I feel.
I think we should each nominate one name, because I feel like we mentioned a few people in the end. I'm happy to stick Trevor Chalobah into the pot.
Chris, who have you decided? You need to decide, Chris.
You can't have Saka and Smith Rowe. Pick one.
Pick one, Chris.
I'll pick Bukayo Saka then, just because you said it was Euros as well as...
Yeah, we did say that. And Jack, who are you saying?
Mine would be Ramsdale.
Ramsdale, Saka, Chalobah.
What do you think about that, Tang?
I
My feeling on it is Ramsdale, as I said this before the problem we were discussing, he just feels like he's someone who's been established for ages. I know he is young and he has made his impact on that Arsenal team has been good. At the same time, I feel like he has made a couple of mistakes, and the fact that in those games it hasn't led to a goal or it hasn't cost Arsenal, it's sort of gone slightly under the carpet. So there might be a little bit. I'm not saying he's overrated. I'm just saying he's having a bit of a charm time at the minute where he can do no wrong, even though he has made a couple of errors.
I see the merits to all of them as well. And just on that point, I feel, as you said, Chalobah has definitely burst onto the scene. And then Saka burst onto the scene last season, but has sort of continued that.
Yeah, I think if it was a burst onto the scene award, then you would give it to Chalobah. But I think, in fairness, for me, just out of those three names, if you're picking who has, lit up our TV screen, who's had the most impact, I'd say Bukayo Saka. Despite the missed penalty, obviously, in the Euros final, but he has been terrific, and he's probably, I'd say, one of the most exciting young attacking players in the Premier League and that England have. And he seems a really nice guy as well, so that's
a really nice guy. So yeah, fantastic. Bukayo Saka, congrats. You are the winner of the Young Player of the Season so far from the Early Bath Football Podcast. Right. The next one is, I'm going to do coach/manager of the season so far. I'll put out some names for you here, lads. I'll put David Moyes. I'll say Graham Potter, obviously. Why not? Thomas Frank. I'll even put Patrick Vieira in there, and I'll raise you a Bruno Lage as well. Chris, I've said a few names there. What about you? What do you think?
I'm going to go with the first name you said, David Moyes. It's been a fantastic season again for West Ham. I'll be honest, I'll probably say they are probably the surprise package of the Premier League this season, just because I think a lot of us, including myself, thought they were going to struggle with both European and Premier League football this season. And they left it quite late to do their transfer business as well, I believe, in the summer. But honestly, they've been phenomenal. Obviously, Moyes has got them up there again, challenging for the top four. I don't think they'll make the top four, but even if they just get into Europe again, it's another fantastic season for them. And he also done a brilliant job in the Europa League as well, getting them. I think they finished top of their group, with a game to spare as well. So that meaning they managed to skip the how the new knockout system works. Obviously, there's that new sort of first round knockout game, and now obviously they've skipped that and gone to the second round knockout game. So it's been a brilliant season from them again, and you can just tell he's getting the best out of his players. He plays a system that gets the best out of Rice and Souček, the two central midfielders. Obviously the three behind Antonio as well gets the best. Obviously Ben Rama has been almost been like a new signing for them this season. Obviously when he joined last year, he didn't quite fit in, if you know what I mean, but he's almost been like a brilliant replacement for Lingard as such. And obviously Antonio's, I mean, in fairness, you could say it was a bit unfair that Antonio didn't get a mention in the sort of Player of the Year award that we've done, because he has been exceptional for West Ham again this season. So yeah, I'm going to go with David Moyes. I think he's been brilliant.
David Moyes' boys. Okay, Jack Hollyfield, what is your coach/manager of the season nomination?
Mine's a bit of an obvious one, unfortunately. Pep.
Okay, if someone had to say it, that's fine. I'll allow it.
Just because they're 10 points ahead, and I think they've scored maybe 40 or over 35 goals this season already. They're just running away with it. But
Chris is fuming. Oil money, says Chris.
Oil money, ban it.
But I do agree with you, the honourable mentions of Moyes, Vieira, and one that I think maybe people won't think of. And I wouldn't, obviously, I don't think he's not really manager of the season or anything so far. But I think one thing I will say is Hasenhüttl. Considering how many players left at the start of the season and what he had left, I think he's actually done really well to steady the ship, because I think a lot of people were like, they're going to struggle real bad this year. But I mean, they're not in a great position, but I think they're seem quite comfortable at the moment. They're certainly not making the headlines, getting done 8-1 or whatever they would have getting done in the past, So I think it's certainly not up there as the best, but I sort of want to mention it because he has done very well with considering, the Ings leaving, which is like a massive one for him.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Pep for me, like they've been brilliant City, to be honest.
Pep, fantastic. And Ash, to round it off, your nomination is...
It is. Well, it'll be unfair. Jack has mentioned Pep Guardiola. I think we have to mention Jurgen Klopp as well.
Get in the bin.
In that, he is season on season, that Liverpool team with a significantly smaller squad than City has. And net spend, they haven't spent that much money, which everyone talks about, is pretty low. And I think the way he plays football, pretty much every Liverpool game you watch, especially on the TV games, is an exciting one. And I think even this season they've been pretty good all season. They got some players coming back from injury like Van Dijk. So I think Klopp is definitely up there. Same as Jack, I was thinking of saying Hassan Hutel for exactly the same reason. I think he's an underrated coach. I think if Southampton had a different coach, they'd be in a lot of trouble. And I'd like to, this may be a controversial one because I realise they're also not doing very well in the league. But I think Marcelo Bielsa deserves some recognition for sticking with his philosophy whilst a lot of people sort of rain down and, you can't play like that, you shouldn't be playing like that. You've got so many injuries, you just got to play long ball, play defensive and try. And, he's stuck at it and they are actually starting to improve and get better results. So, and he played, again, another one who plays really entertaining football. So, but of course, big up to obviously David Moyes, Bruno Lage that are also shown good performances this year. But I think my nomination is sadly going to be a boring one, and I'm going to say Jurgen Klopp.
I like your Bielsa shot. I saw a video of when they scored at the weekend and Bielsa hugged his assistant, I think, for a good 30 seconds. Very good content, very wholesome.
Yeah.
Unless you're a non-Leeds fan or a Leeds rival fan, which is so many up in that area of the world. I couldn't tell you who hates Leeds. It's most people, I think. So we said Klopp, Pep, and Moyes. If it was me, I'd go for Moyes because it's the less boring shout. Purely because it is. Do you boys disagree, or who should we pick as our early bath coach / manager of the season so far?
I don't know. I think
Pep is cruising, isn't he?
Pep is it's an obvious one, but I think, like I said, if you're looking at maybe not the surprise, I think people thought West Ham would do quite well, but I think I will agree that he has done a very good job with look at the squad. He has got a good start on 11, but I think past that, they're not as strong as some of the other teams, but they seem to be performing better than some of the teams around them. Like, look at Leicester, for example. West Ham and Leicester are sort of in a similar position, but you'd argue that Leicester have got a better squad, but they're not doing as well as West Ham. So I think for that, you've got to sort of say Moyes done really well, to be honest.
Are we saying Moyes?
Yeah, so I would switch to Moyes.
David Moyes, congrats. You've won a lot in your time as a manager, or not a lot. Has he won anything?
Probably not.
He won the Community Shield when he was Manchester United manager.
That prestigious trophy. He did.
I think he must hold a record for most times finishing 4th in the Premier League or 5th. Because Everton, I'm pretty sure for like at least a decade, they finished in the same position every year. Well, it felt like it anyway. They never seemed to go anywhere near the top 4, but they were always like the next team after that.
Yeah.
After.
What was it? It wasn't the last game against Crystal Palace, but it was the game before. I think he's now the manager of like the 3rd most wins in the Premier League. I believe he overtook Harry Redknapp.
Oh, wow, terrific!
I'm not so surprised it's Harry Redknapp. I've got to be honest. Because who's 2nd and 3rd? Ferguson and Wenger.
Well, yeah, it's Ferguson and Wenger. Yeah.
Interesting.
What? He's actually got more. Harry Redknapp had more wins than Jose Mourinho in the Premier League.
Well, to be fair, Redknapp's been around a long time, hasn't he?
So,
Steve Bruce is probably up there with number of wins just because he's managed like so many games.
Every team in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Mark Hughes, he's got to be 5th, hasn't he?
Yeah, I agree.
Big Sam.
Yeah, Big Sam, sir.
Big Sam probably is up there.
Most headed goals, that is. Big Sam.
I think the Everton finishing 4th or 5th in the league correlated with Stephen Naismith playing for them, I'm sure. So
Tony Hibbert, mate.
Yeah, Tony Hibbert and Stephen Naismith.
500 appearances, no senior goals. What unreal.
What a record! What a record! So congrats, David Moyes. Congrats, David Moyes. Which one have I missed here? Okay, the second to last one, the penultimate one is the best summer signing so far for the 2021-2022 season. I had to look in the corner of my laptop there. I'll throw some names out again for you. Aaron Ramsdale, Conor Gallagher technically is we'll allow loaning signings. Ben White because he cost a lot of money. I would also say Tomiyasu been like quite decent for Arsenal. Maybe he's not done enough to win. Sarr, the Wolves goalkeeper. Cucurella for Brighton. And did Odegaard sign this season? I know he was on loan last season. So we'll allow Odegaard. But just to get the cogs sort of turning. Chris, what about you? What are your thoughts here? There's quite a lot of transfer signing. Ronaldo.
Well, first and foremost, I quite like the fact that you've mentioned quite a few Arsenal players there.
I did. They made some good business.
It obviously does show that they did make some good business in the summer. And I once again apologise to Sir Aaron Ramsdale. He's been a fantastic signing. But
you chastised him when he joined.
Yeah, I know. I did. I feel guilty for it because he has been phenomenal, and he is up there. But I think I'll just pip his teammate and. I'd say Tomiyasu. Tomiyasu's been immense for Arsenal. Like he's come in. It was quite a strange one because it was one of them that he was linked with Tottenham all summer, and I know when Arsenal did sign him, I know Paul Merson questioned it on Gillette. I think it was either Gillette Soccer Saturday, one of the transfer special shows, where it's kind of like, well, if Tottenham didn't go in for him, why have Arsenal signed him? But I think he's definitely proved doubt was wrong. That's for sure. And he only cost that Arsenal 18 million as well. I mean. Obviously, that does sound like quite a lot of money, but in like today's football, 18 million, like especially for teams like Arsenal, that's kind of like spare change down the sofa, and like you can just see he's very solid defensively as well, and he's very good going forward. He can put in a good cross of the ball, and I think he has been solid. So yeah, I'll go with Tomiyasu, but I think Jose Sarr is another good shout considering what was it? It was again that was quite a strange one in the sense that Wolves had Portugal's number one goalkeeper in Patricio, and they're replacing him with the number two goalkeeper of Portugal. It was sort of like a head baffling. It was like a head scratcher thinking, why'd you get rid of Portugal's number one for their number two? But no, Jose Sarr has been immense for them this season as they, look to try and, I mean, Wolves could finish in the European places. They just don't score enough goals. Yeah, they're eighth, but they've only scored 14 goals. They've only conceded 14 goals as well, but obviously for Wolves, like their January transfer business surely has to be getting in attack players that can actually score goals.
Yeah, I think we know that person's going to be Portuguese as well because the Wolves scouts are just so lazy. Come on, there is another country outside of. They're going to pick the bigger country than Portugal as well.
Be another Benfica youngster.
There you go. Exactly. Okay, Chris, you've said Tomiyasu there. Jack, what about you for the best summer signing so far?
I think out of all of these categories, I found this the hardest.
Mm-hmm.
I think because there's quite a lot of merit to quite a lot of people. And there's also a fact that some of them have sort of had a good bit of form and then dipped a bit and then sort of it's not been consistent, really. Many of them have been brilliant every single game. The ones I've written down are Cornet, Burnley.
Oh, yes. Very good shout.
Damari Gray. Obviously, he joined Everton in the summer. And Dennis for Watford.
Yeah.
If out of those three, I'll probably say Cornet is probably the best because I think
he scored like 40% of Burnley's goals this year or something.
And he's looked very every game I've sort of watched or the match of the days that I've watched, he's always looked very like active and quite. Because I remember I think I read something at the start of the season that I don't know if it was just news rubbish, but a lot of people were saying that he didn't actually want to go, and it was sort of like he was sort of forced to go because Leon wanted to get some money in. But he certainly doesn't look like a player that doesn't want to be there. He's sort of playing he's sort of fit into that style quite well, hasn't he? And it's I think it's sort of made them a bit more dangerous, Burnley, I think now. Because they're not quite so one-sided as they used to be. We used to be very much like give the ball to McNeil, we whip it in, and then someone heads it in. But now they've got a little bit more balance, I think. So I think he's certainly, out of all of those three I've said, I think he's probably made the biggest difference to one of the team that he's involved in.
Very interesting.
But I think Gray and Dennis as well was honourable mentions. I think they made a good effect on teams as well.
Okay, this is getting more difficult as we go through. Ash, what about you? What do you think here?
Yeah, all good shouts so far from the boys. I think in terms of, just going to start off with like teams that, rather than go through, because Arsenal, as mentioned, have signed, I think, Tomiyasu maybe the best one, but Ben White, Ramsdale, and Odegaard, all very good signings for what seems like decent money at the moment. I think Crystal Palace deserve a shout out as well. Pretty much, released like half their team at the end of last season, still have some crap players in their team, but they signed really well. I think signing Joachim Andersen and Mark Gahey at the back is, you rarely ever see a club sell or sign 2 first choice centre backs in one transfer window, and I think they chose wisely there in getting 2 people who are familiar with English football. And yeah, I think they've both been excellent. I think Crystal Palace in general have been going well. Who I was going to pick, I did see, I was looking through the signings earlier, and Gary Dicker for Brighton was on there from Kilmarnock on a free. Absolutely no idea why he's there.
No idea.
But I did think pre-injury, I know he's been out for probably about a month now, but Kurt Zouma to West Ham, I think he improved their defence. He took their defence to the next level. And I think since he's been injured and they've been playing sort of Craig Dawson and Diop, I think he's been playing as well, they've slightly dropped off. They're not quite as imposing at the back. So I think Kurt Zouma is a good shout for signing the season. But a lot of the young players we mentioned as well could be seen as signs of seasons, like Gallagher and Livramento as well. But I'll stick with Zouma. Obviously, unfortunately, got injured, but I think he was very good for West Ham in the first half of the season.
Okay, so we've got Zouma, Tomiyasu, and Cornet, all defenders, which I like to see. I don't know. That's really difficult. I've no idea.
I think Cornet, you could argue, has had most impact, but then also Burnley have been quite terrible.
In the relegation zone.
So
how much
it's a difficult one.
Been?
Well, exactly.
This is very difficult. I mean, as you say, Arsenal are 4th, West Ham are 5th. Zouma's been injured. This is difficult. I don't really know how to go from there.
Yeah, it's quite strange, isn't it? Because if you look at like the top, especially like the top 3 teams, like obviously you think about what the summer business they've done, and obviously there's some signs like they either haven't done anything or haven't done much of note, haven't really played, or have just fallen out with the manager, like Lukaku's done at Chelsea.
No need to call out Romelu Lukaku there, Chris.
Well,
he deserves it, to be fair.
Yeah,
I think there's something to be said for. I think I said it earlier, or a few of us said it while we were talking about the last transfer window in the summer, that how often do you sign a player for huge money and it doesn't work? Like, none of the players we've picked as best signings were signed for, outstanding, fees. We've got players signed for, you got Jadon Sancho, I know Ronaldo was a free agent, but huge transfer wages wise. Lukaku, none of those players have, reached the potential that you'd expect for the amount of money spent. I can't think of actually one signing, even if you go back throughout the years, who's say signed for like 80 million plus, who's been a success.
I'm going to say Van Dijk.
Okay. He was 75 million.
True, that's fair.
But I think generally,
I get your point. Maguire, Pogba.
It's few and I was thinking Maguire, Pogba.
There's a general theme of Man United, isn't it?
Yeah, Manchester United players. Well, Romelu Lukaku, Chelsea. I think as we know with recent
Romelu Lukaku,
events.
Man United.
Yeah, but he also Man United signed him for 15. How much was it? For 30 million, 33 million from Everton. I can't remember. It was
more than it was like 75, wasn't it?
No, I don't think it was as high as that. I didn't think. I thought it was 30.
I thought it was 75, but maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe
Di Maria as well. Another terrible United
common theme of Man United, isn't there?
Maybe it's just a Man U thing. Apologies, Leify and Owen.
It's a very. I think it's partly to do with the pressure, to be honest, a little bit. But it's also, I think, with the teams that can make those kind of signings, they have incredible amounts of squad rotation, so the players don't necessarily play. Apart from, you say, probably Ronaldo this year, out of all those names you just said, he's probably the only ever-present player out of all those big signings, because Sancho's played probably more sub appearances he's actually made starts. Yeah. And then you look at Lukaku, he's played, 4 games at the start and then was out injured for most of the season. So out of all of those, Ronaldo's the only one that's actually started most games. So I think it's I think they make those big signings for the big moments, don't they? Rather than the playing every game as such.
Yeah.
True. Pepe comes to mind as well for Arsenal. Sorry, Chris.
Yeah. Oh, no, he's a massive flop. He is a massive flop. I'm not going to be right on that one.
How much was Aubameyang? Was he quite a lot?
He was like, 40, I want to say 50? He was like 50. I think he was like 54 or something like that.
I mean, that was a few years ago, mind.
He was good for a few seasons, just like this season. He's just had attitude problems.
He loves tattoos.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously, Grealish was a lot of money as well, but maybe like with Grealish, it was kind of more of a kick up the backside for the likes of Bernardo Silva, Sterling, pretty much saying, look, your position is in jeopardy. I can spend this much money to replace you. And obviously, but like Bernardo Silva, Sterling, they've both been quality this season and in recent weeks.
And Ferran Torres has run away.
Yeah, he has. He has to Barcelona, where Barcelona got this money all of a sudden. I mean, apparently they've had like
they're paying him like 5 installments of like 10 million or something. Yeah, I think I read somewhere.
Apparently they've had like a loan, but La Liga aren't letting them register him. Like they said, you need to sell players before you go. It makes me laugh. Like the Porter's like, Barcelona were back in the market, blah. It's like, no, you're not. like if you had like loads of money all of a sudden, then you would be back in, but you're still playing Luke De Jong up front. You're not
they were talking about Haaland. I'm like, there's no way that they're going to be able to get him.
Yeah,
they literally have to sell. They literally be Haaland in the squad, and that's it. There'd be no one else. They'd have to sell the whole squad just to get even close to getting him in.
I read Laporta said something in the media. It was like, everybody in the world should get ready because Barca are back. And I took that very literally because they have no money. I was tempted to fly to Barcelona with my boots and shin pads because they're not going to sign anyone. They've got no money. So everyone in the world should get ready. I took that very literally, very figuratively.
They're going to have to try and offload players for good money that no one wants to pay for them. Like Coutinho, they're never going to... he's a great player, don't get me wrong, but they're never going to recoup the amount of money they spent on him.
You say that, Jack, you say that. Newcastle United, a certain Geordie team with a lot of oil money will be coming in soon. We're going to pay ridiculous money for really old shit players. Let's go. No offense, Kieran Trippier, you're not shit, sorry.
They haven't like gone straight into that though. You've seen the players that they've put bids in for, or supposedly put bids in for. So is this the Lille centre back? Is it Botman?
Botman.
Yeah, like I think 30 million is still quite a lot of money, but considering his age and he did win the title last year, that's not a bad price.
Yeah.
And then Trippier, I mean, arguably towards the end of his peak, would you say? But he's still a solid player.
Scored a good free kick at the Euros.
Yeah, they're certainly not like the, Messi's, Mbappe's, Haaland's, that everyone thought it was going to be like January. It'd be absolute carnage, but not yet. I'm appreciate we're only 4 days in, but does it look like it's going to happen? But I just don't know. To be honest, like I said about the Ferran Torres thing, I'm actually more surprised that City let him go. Just because I generally, the few games I've actually seen him play, he's actually looked like he's got something about him. And he just fits that style perfectly because Pep doesn't like centre forwards, does he? Like the conventional centre forwards. He likes wingers or midfielders that sort of play as false nines. And I thought he just fit that perfectly. Like whether it was him that actually wanted to leave, maybe that is the case. But
I think it was. I think that's what Pep said.
I'm very surprised that Pep didn't manage to persuade him to stay because. I think he's just perfect fit, like for them, development wise. He'd have been brilliant, but I suppose he wants to play. But then again, he might not even be able to play if they can't register him. He's just going to be sat on the bloody stands for the next half a season.
Yeah, not even on the bench, just outside the stadium.
Yeah,
not allowed in.
Yeah, not allowed in. Who are we going to pick for our best summer? So we had a massive tangent there, which is absolutely fine.
Ferran Torres.
Ferran Torres is signing of the summer so far. Sorry, Cornet, Tomiyasu, and Zuma. We'll just give it to Torres, I guess. Why not?
I don't know. I sort of lean out of I'll put Cornet, but Cornet.
Hey, all right, well, there's a PG rating gone.
I'll put him to the side, Cornet, and I will stick my neck out and say, out of the two that Chris and Barnes suggested, I'd go for Zuma.
Interesting.
That's bad because I was going to say Tomiyasu.
Good. Okay, well, Tomiyasu wins then.
As on value for money, I think Zuma was like 30 million, which you'd expect to improve. Whereas Tomiyasu, Chris, correct me, wasn't that much money. 10 million, was it?
It was like
18. Okay. I think he's been really good for Arsenal, so I think that's a fair one to put in.
Okay, so best summer signing so far is Tomiyasu. I don't know his first name. First name, Tomiyasu. And then our last awards category for this prestigious event is the best footballing moment of 2021. There's a lot here. So I will I'll say a few to get the minds working, and then I'll hand over to you boys. But what I've written down here is Chelsea winning the Champions League, Leicester winning the FA Cup, that Alisson goal against West Brom when it was in the last minute. I think that was a pretty big moment for a Liverpool fan. England at the Euros is just one big moment for me. Gary Neville also said Ronaldo back at United, which was, it was quite a huge deal, wasn't it, when it happened? Brentford 2, Arsenal 0. Sorry, Chris. The full Brentford being up and the stadium back being full was a really big moment on the opening day on that Friday Night Football. And then two extra things here: the Newcastle takeover and the Super League, which was only in April. I think it was when I Googled it earlier. That was a really fun couple of days. I really enjoyed that. So, Chris, what do you think?
Yeah. A lot happened in the past 12 months, wasn't there? There was quite a lot.
Crazy amount.
That happened. It's a difficult one to pick just one moment from all of them, but I think I will go. I think I will pick the European Super League. I mean, when we first heard about
crazy, wasn't it?
It was mental. It was just they almost took a page out of our government's book and thought, we'll leak it. We'll do an underhanded leak to the papers, just see how people react. We'll tickle them, and that and it was kind of obviously it happened during Super Sunday. I remember the Super Sunday quite well because apparently I think Arsenal Fulham was one of the games. Obviously Arsenal were one of the teams part of the Super League. They drew 1-0 at home to Fulham, and Fulham ended up getting relegated. And just the whole animosity. I don't think I've ever seen not just football, not just the footballing community, but the whole world community. I don't think I've ever seen the whole world be against something so much as this and that. And
apart from 4 people.
Yeah, apart from the people I want Mbappe at Real Madrid, anything for Mbappe and Haaland at Real Madrid.
That's exactly what they sound like. That's exactly what they sound like. You got it spot on.
But I just remember just being so utterly angry. I remember I was working from because that was another thing as well, how pathetic it was. They waited till 10:30 English time to announce it. Obviously that's 11:30 Spanish time, because what was it? It was Florentino Perez went on this really random, it weren't even a mainstream Spanish channel. It was one of the most random Spanish channels out there.
It was Setanta Sports, I think it was.
It may as well have been Setanta Sports the way it all folded, but honestly, it was coward-like the way they announced it, and the whole I just remember the team statements as well. It's we're going to be part of the European Super League. Thinking it was the best idea ever, and I just remember just being angry for the next 2 days, just thinking football is not. I mean, don't get me wrong, football's not perfect now. There is too much of a monopoly in football, in my opinion, and there's not enough that goes towards, the lower leagues and the lower infrastructure of football. Football is mainly about look at the big teams, big players, big money. No, that's not what football is about. I mean, football was created by the working class. It should always be for the working class. It should always be for the people that go and support their teams week in, week out, not the, because that was the thing, like Super League would have only catered for the people. Don't get me wrong, obviously it is important to have a global audience and that, but it is important to stick to your roots as well. And that's what the Super League was completely against. It was completely against people like, the people that actually built and created these football clubs and that. And like, I also remember like the Monday night game, it was Liverpool versus Leeds. Obviously, the Leeds players wore the earn it shirt. Obviously, Jurgen Klopp was moans about everything, but he was rightfully fuming that, obviously Henry threw him under the bus pretty much, because that's what.
Remember, that's what he was going to leave, wasn't he? Like everyone's saying, Klopp's going to leave if this goes ahead. Yeah,
and like I just remember. No, to be honest, I didn't actually watch the game. I only watched like the first, the hour before the game, because I wanted.
Everyone wanted to watch just that.
Everyone didn't really care about the game. They just wanted to hear, like, they'd rather hear Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville rant and rave about the whole idea for like 3 hours rather than actually watch the game of football. But obviously, it come to the right, outcome in the end, in the sense that obviously the fan. It was mainly the fans that showed their power, just saying, no, we're completely against this. And at the end of the day, the fans are the ones that, they're the ones that, buy the tickets, buy the merchandise and that. And it is unfortunate we still have the snakes like Perez, Laporta, Agnelli in the game that still want to go ahead with the Super League. I mean, Perez has pretty much blankly come out and said, oh, we need the Super League to buy Haaland and Mbappe. And he has literally come out and said that. It's kind of like, well, run your football club in a more sustainable way. Don't go and chuck 500 grand a week at a 29-year-old David Alaba.
There's your business advice.
Like if you want to run your football club in a more sustainable way, make a profit out of it. Don't throw money down the drain pretty much. Be like, oh, we need more. Honestly, like I could pretty spend.
I've set you off, Chris. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, you'd literally spend
rolled him up now.
Yeah, I'm really sorry, Chris.
Just have an hour, just like calling Florentino Perez every name under the sun. Obviously not.
When you know what? On April the 18th, when the Super League was officially founded, we'll do a Super League special. Again, another special. Well, we'll just talk about the Super League for a whole hour.
Would you like that, Chris? We are like Top Gear, aren't we? Just special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Super League. I've just Googled them here. They had a motto, and it was the best clubs, full stop. The best players, full stop. Every week, full stop. That was their slogan. Pretty crap slogan, I thought.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. And football is not about the best players. Football is about it's a whole community. It's about us lot that come on here and do a podcast. It's about the people that have gone and watched their football club for like 50 plus years, and that it's not about Perez wanting some extra change in his back pocket. It's about the local community. It's about the football community as a whole, and that it's not about these best players and that. But I better move on to Ginger.
Yeah, I'll move on before steam starts coming out of Chris's ears.
Yeah, he's the same colour as that shirt behind you.
Yeah. Jack, what is your footballing moment of the year 2021?
Like, selfishly, mine would be when Kane scored that header against Germany, because that was mental.
That was huge.
But I would, in terms of the global football, I would probably say...
it could be personal if you want.
I'll give you that selfish one. That was mine. But I would say the other options are Messi finally winning international trophy.
That's a great shout.
Copa America.
Yeah.
But only thing missing from the cabinet, barring the World Cup, obviously. But, finally actually broke that hoodoo of Argentina. Ronaldo, top goal, international goals.
Yeah.
Top international scorer in history. And I'm pretty sure he also is the first person ever to score 800 goals generally, isn't he? I think
I saw that. I remember that somewhere.
So sort of a double one for him. So yeah, those would be my three. I think the only other one I can think of was the I know it won. I don't know if it was some sort of award, but the Simon Kjær thing at the Euros with Eriksson.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, it was like a horrible moment, but the response to that was also heroic.
Yeah,
in its own right, what happened afterwards and everything that were involved in it after the incident. So that was obviously deserves an honourable mention. I think pretty sure that was, I don't know if it was a fair play award, but they won some sort of award, didn't they, for that, the national team? But yeah, that would be my options.
Yeah, I think the whole forgot about Messi, but also like the Messi and Ronaldo transfer happened within like days of each other, didn't it? I'm pretty sure that whole week was just crazy. Ash, what about you? Football moment of last year?
I've got to go with Jack. That England versus Germany semi-final, just the whole game. Because I think when we look back on the Euros, obviously it was practically a home Euros, wasn't it? I mean, we had quite a lot of games at Wembley. It felt like a home Euros. I think it kind of peaked at that point against Germany. I know obviously we beat Ukraine and then we beat Denmark, but the sort of scenes that followed, we had the issues at Wembley, people trying to break into the stadium, the behaviour of the England fans, the racism, and it all just sort of became extremely depressing, I thought, Euro 2020. But that moment against Germany, when we beat them, like I said, we haven't beat them for years in a knockout game, was sort of unbelievable. And as an England fan, I can't really remember, obviously, other than the World Cup, but that was obviously we didn't play really any huge teams. We sort of scraped through, against Colombia and sort of other teams, Panama, yeah. So to beat Germany on I thought announce this England team to the world stage, and obviously it was really it was a great moment. That was my wider issue. The more personal one was me going back to my first football match since sort of COVID times, where the Guiseley Gloucester City game, huge reappearance. Just to be back at football was great after sort of so long not being able to go. I know that's sort of, I feel like I'm pandering to the fans with this one, saying fans going back to football. But obviously, with the couple of years we've been through, having people back in stadiums was a great thing. And just to touch on the Super League, obviously, I'm quite interested. I know we've sort of jokingly said we should have another pod on it in the future, but I do feel like I almost forgot it happened. Like the fallout has been so, we were so angry, all of us, every football fan, as Chris said, the sort of outrage was huge, but the sort of outrage, as big as it was at the time, was sort of dropped just as quickly almost. It's really strange. It's not on necessarily the fans of those clubs who joined the Super League. I just think, in general, people should maybe be more bothered about how football is run, not just in this country, but I'd say, let's face it, in Europe, because although the Super League isn't gone, we are still, changing Champions League format. We are coming to a point in England where, certain clubs, I don't mean to pick on Manchester City and PSG here. I know they are the sort of, as Chris was calling, the oil giants. But they kind of just don't feel like they're ever going to go away. However bad decisions they make, they have so much money that they are they will always be there. We'll be on the early bar of episode 2000 in, 2030, and we'll be talking about, not Pep's Man City, but someone else's Man City, and they'll still be there. And they'll have got consecutive top fours for 30 years. I don't know. It just feels like we're coming to a period of football where, okay, the Europa League, the Super League was shut down, but I kind of feel like we're sleepwalking into that anyway. That might be a very depressing suggestion on the podcast, but I kind of feel like, yes, it was good to see the fans and everyone, all of us, come out against the Super League, but it's disappointment for me also that didn't then lead to maybe more change in the game. I felt like there was an opportunity where the fans had a sort of the game within their sort of grasp, and nothing was really achieved out of it, other than obviously stopping the Super League for now. But yeah, it's been it's been one of the craziest years of football ever, I think, especially in England. We got to the Euro. Obviously, I talked about the Euros. We got to the Euro final. I mean, that was pretty incredible, despite the sort of ugly scenes that we saw around it. And yeah, World Cup again next year, Qatar. This year. That's unbelievable.
First ever Winter World Cup, isn't it, as well?
Don't think there's going to be a crossover of football songs and Christmas songs, which I'm not sure I'm on board with fully.
There's definitely going to be some terrible remixes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's coming home for Christmas or something.
but again, it's exactly what like the point Ash made. You know, where's the uproar for this World Cup? Like, honestly, this World Cup shouldn't be going ahead in this country, in my opinion. But that's the way it is, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think as Ash said, we've sort of sleptwalked into something here, and I feel the Super League was kind of a let's test the waters, let's see how far we could go, and the Super League was too far. To be honest, so that's a bit of a somber note. But to bring the mood back, go on.
Sorry, one thing I'll just mention. I know, obviously, you look at the teams that were going to be involved in the Super League, but you look at, I can't remember. I think was it that season that Atalanta done really well in the Champions League, and there is, as much money as I think these teams have, I don't think. There certainly isn't as much evidence of it yet that there is a domination as such. I know, obviously, you're looking at City; they're doing very, very well in the English league. But at the start of every season, it's not a guarantee. Same with Paris Saint-Germain. You look at they didn't even win the league last year. All that resource they've got, and they still lost to Lille. A few seasons ago, they lost to Monaco, and Atletico Madrid. Yeah, they've got loads of money, but they're still beating Real Madrid, Barcelona. I mean, the only league probably at the moment that's pretty much a write-off is the Bundesliga because Bayern have won it the last 10 times. Is that right? Maybe I might be making
9
that up,
times. They're going for the 10th one this season.
Is it the 10th this year?
But that's mainly because Borussia Dortmund are bottle jobs. That's
But I mean, obviously, like I do agree with what Barnes and Chris have said about the money, and it's sort of taking it away from the beauty of football. But I think the beauty of football is that everybody loves an underdog, and there will always be these teams that will just come out of nowhere. I think even now, there will be teams that will just, like the Atalantas in the Champions League, like the Sheriffs, beating Real Madrid at the Bernabeu. There will always be those Ajax, And there's probably quite a few you can roll off, your tongue, sort of Porto 2004, everyone talks about, and there's Leicester City winning the title. Yeah. And I just think as much money as there will be, I don't think, obviously it will make a difference, but I don't think it will be total domination because there will always be those years where something just special happens,
Wow, I'm getting quite emotional. Quite
no, I like that. That was good. That was good.
Really good.
So you've restored my faith in football.
Wow, that was great. I will say, Ash, on your point of attending a football match, the first football game I attended was QPR versus Oxford at Loftus Road, or the Cayenne Print Foundation Stadium. Again, felt very emotional when I went there. Just to be back at a football ground. A quick trivia question for you lads before we sign off. Nevermore Park is AFC Guiseley's home ground. What is their capacity? Closest one wins.
Oh, I should win this, really, shouldn't I? Haven't been there.
You go first because you'd be able to give a sort of a barometer for Chris and Jack.
I reckon it's about. There is a couple of stands, but they're quite terrible. I reckon about 1,400.
Chris?
2,076.
I think I might have undercooked that a bit.
Barnes, I have a question, Barnes. Is there terraces or is it all seating?
No, it's terraces.
Oh, that's a great question.
Safe standing.
Ooh.
There's about 2 stands. Or stands.
The only thing that's putting me off, I can't ever remember Guiseley ever being near the Football League. So I don't know if they've ever actually been.
This is just
the National League North
because you've never seen the stadium.
Oh god. Okay. I'll go 3K, 3,000.
The answer is apparently 4,000. So,
oh my
God. But massively undercooked that.
So what?
I did undercook it.
Let me have a look at it. What's the stadium called?
Yeah, but you could get loads of people in standard. Like I don't know.
Nevermore Park.
That feels loads. And I went there in the FA Cup when they played. Who did they play?
I don't think this is right.
Fleetwood Town, I think.
Right.
Joey Barton's at the time, Fleetwood Town. I think there were 4,000 people there.
This is wikipedia.org, so it's a their record attendance is apparently 3,366 against Leeds a couple of years ago. So we'll take that as
there you go. So yeah, it's got 500 actual seats. That must be like 3,500 terrace standing.
Well, there
there's no social distance in there. That's all I'm saying.
So if it's got 500 seats, that's 3,500 the standing. Which I don't know, but I've never been there. Barnes will be able to tell us. But could you fit 3,500 people standing there?
I think not, because there's a pub in it as well. So unless you shove people in there,
ground in
I like the sound of this. It's got a pub.
Away days.
Yeah, right. It's good.
Wasn't it?
Still go to Nenmore Park.
Brentford, they used to have a pub on every corner, didn't they?
They did.
Griffin Park.
At the old Griffin Park,
Park.
Yeah.
You know what, lads? I'm going to go for the best footballing moment of 2021. I'm going to do something our old friend Jimothy Bullard does, and that is football's always the winner. And I think football was the winner of 2021. So let's just do that. It's a bit of a cop-out, but I think that's quite nice. Because Jack made such a poignant and emotional speech. I feel like I wouldn't want to undermine it by choosing one moment. All the moments were great. What a year.
I think I'm still amazed that Guiseley has 4,000 capacity. That's actually surprisingly good for...
Is that the moment of the year?
13... was it? Is that 12? What tier is that, Vanarama North?
6th tier.
6th, yeah.
6th.
That's unreal.
Okay.
That's unreal.
That's pretty good, isn't it? For, you know...
The Guiseley.
2 off the professional league then as such.
Up the Nevermore Park.
What's North Lee then? That must be 10,000.
Just many.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Right, we were going to talk about Premier League stuff. We'll just do that next week. That's boring. We've done a lot here. We've been speaking for over an hour on the awards. So that was fun. I enjoyed that. But what a year that was. What a year 2021 was. And I'm sure 2022, the year of the early bath, as I said, let's go full circle. I'm sure there's lots to talk about this year, and I'm very excited to talk about it with you boys as and when it happens through the guise of YouTube specials. We'll have to just call every episode a special. So please be sure to like and subscribe and follow. We're on 62 subscribers out of 75. The goal is 75. The overall goal is 100. The overall goal is millions. But let's just do baby steps for now. So if you're watching this, share it with a friend who hasn't subscribed, and then we'll get there. You know, a war of attrition. We'll eventually get there. That includes you boys. So yeah, thank you very much. It's goodbye from Chris, Jack, and Ash. Waving goodbye from us. See you next time. Peace.